What time is it now?
I don't know, late.
We've only broken a couple things, and we fixed them all, so that's good.
The view here. It's exciting to see it all come together because, you know, from a post-production side, I'm very used to having control over a lot of these things, you know, be able to make it myself. It's the first time I've really had to lean on, you know, other professionals kind of bringing this stuff, so it's been a pretty unique experience, and it's going really well so far, so it's nice.
It's golden.
Going from kind of storyboard and ideation, you know, you kind of think you have everything planned out, and then you actually get in here with the physical set itself, and there's just things you have to do on the fly to kind of figure out how we get everyone on the same page.
It's taken a long time to get this piece, all the pre-production together, and we're going to do our first shot here soon.
Action. Yes!
Okay.
How's it look, Corey?
Good.
Scene 2 here, we'll just need 5 seconds.
How's it going?
Pretty great. It's been a long day, but stuff is looking really, really good. The hardest part is just keeping everything in our head, all the different takes and all the different tries and all the different, you know, ideas.
Have an idea, right? And you can see it going on in your head, it looks cool, and then when it actually happens, it looks cooler. I'm pretty pumped about it. And cut! That was so easy!
Hey everybody, welcome to, I'm going to look over here. Hey everybody, welcome to Local Film Talk, the show where we talk to local filmmakers here in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area about the projects they're working on. You may notice that my shot's a little different. I'm trying something a little different, moving the camera over here. Actually, this is kind of new for me because I recently got a second monitor. After about 15 years of doing video editing and stuff, I finally got my hands on a second monitor. I'm way behind the curve, but I have it. I love it. I thought I'd try something a little different and put the camera up here on the side, see what that shot looks like. It's still yellow as hell. This is a very yellow room. I'm going to have to convert the garage into the studio sometime so I can actually build something nice. But for now, we're here. We're back in my normal office, and we're talking today with Mack Garrison, formerly of Centerline Productions, and now a freelance graphic designer on his own. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, good to be here.
So, like I said, I first met you, or at least first contacted you, right about the time you left Centerline Digital, where you were doing mostly 2D animation, I believe?
Yeah, at the time when I was leaving Centerline, I kind of progressed into more of a art direction role, so I wasn't actually doing a ton of the work at that moment, more along the lines of just kind of overseeing some projects.
You're just pointing at the people who needed to do the work.
yeah, exactly. You know, it's good and bad. You know, when art direction, I love it in the sense that you really get to kind of take control of the project and really shape its creative direction. But then, of course, you know, we're all makers, so you kind of miss it a little bit to a certain point. You know, kind of getting involved. So it was a good balance. A lot of projects I was kind of overseeing, and some I was actually in there working on. So yeah, it was a good time.
Well, I got to wonder because, one thing that I found, like when I first started doing this stuff is you know what you want in your head, especially you have the technical know-how. I imagine you ran into this a lot, you know, doing graphic design yourself. You can picture what you want and you know the steps you have to do to take it. But then when you move into more of a managerial or supervising role, now you have to take all that stuff you have in your head and somehow describe it to other people. Was that a difficult transition for you, or are you pretty good at communicating that stuff?
Well, to be completely honest, I always felt that I was a much better communicator than I was in like execution. Even all the animators that I work with will admit, you know, like my stuff's good. I think I do some pretty good work. But that being said, I always realized I was a lot better conceptually coming up with ideas than maybe as far as the execution. One of my best friends, Corey Livengood, he's a very like technical animator. He, you know, he does things the proper way, has expressions written out for everything, you know, so it's a really like tight, neat kind of package. When I get into stuff, I'm just like, I'm very ADD. I'm kind of all over the place. I have an idea. I just kind of jump into it and keep running with it. So I'll have just thousands of these compositions, built out, and it'll work and it'll look cool. And I'll get the same end result that, maybe Corey would, but we definitely approached it in two completely different ways. So it was probably actually for the best that I kind of started transitioning into more of the direction role, because then people had like neater project files probably after that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that too. I do something and I do it like in some weird, crazy way. I take odd notes and all that stuff, and then I finally get it and I get the result I wanted, and I look at it and I say, that's really awesome. I'm not sure I could do that again. I don't remember how I pulled that off.
How can I replicate this, right?
I should have been like periscoping the whole thing so I could go back and look at it like, oh yeah, I remember.
Oh, I know,
doing
exactly. Like screen recorded the whole thing, right?
I completely forgotten that. So I haven't asked you, how old are you? When did you graduate?
Oh yeah. I look young. I'm working on the beard to try to establish a little bit of age, but so I graduated back in 2010 from the College of Design at NC State. I came into yeah, right. I came into NC State, and I had done art my whole life, and I was convinced that, well, you can't get paid to do art, so I should get like a business degree or something, So I came in my first year, realized how much I hated that. I mean, all my notes, like we were talking about earlier, it was like doodles. I'd have like half a page of notes and it would just transform into like a dragon or something, So I wasn't really doing myself much justice there. So I looked into the College of Design at State, found the art and design program, which I was really interested in just because of the flexibility it really gave you to kind of shape your own path in a way. I mean, with art and design, we had students who were really into fibers. We had students who were doing more digital media stuff. And, that's kind of where I fell into. And I kind of was really into illustration, wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with it until about my senior year. I got introduced to motion graphics. And for the most part, even to this day, at like Thanksgiving, I tell people I'm an animator, going home with the family, and everyone immediately thinks like Disney, Pixar type things like that, which is great. But I'm definitely more on the more technical side of stuff, kind of Swiss design, the Bauhaus type kind of minimal design elements. And I really like this idea of taking compositions, designing out a nice composition. And how does that transition to something else? How do you, transition information into it? So I really took a lot of these illustration skills, combined it with this motion design aspect, and then just kind of kept rolling with that when I got out of school. So I graduated, like I said, back in 2010. And through some various connections, I met up with a great guy, Adam Mittner at Centerline Digital. Really stuck a hand out for me, because to be honest with you, when you first get out of school, you may think you're really good, but you're really not all that great, So,
right. It's hard to find a job out there.
Exactly.
Especially in a specific, in a small community like we have here.
Exactly. So coming out of 2008, just a couple of years beforehand, there was a lot job shortage, to say the least. So Adam kind of brought me in and slowly but surely started doing freelance with them for a while, about a year or so before coming on full time. And then from there, I progressed into just kind of the 2D animation, really kind of honed that. And then like we were talking about a little while ago, really found this niche as far as conceptualization and really working well with people. So by the end of my time there, I was still producing a good bit of 2D animations and a lot of illustrative work, and then working with a lot of our team members to create these kind of bigger animation campaigns, which is pretty cool.
Right. Now, one of the interesting things about Centerline is, I'm used to dealing with the, independent filmmakers who really have a do-it-yourself mentality. A lot of these guys try to work all the programs in Adobe's Creative Suite. Mm-hmm. And but even when you get into some of the other production houses, the ones that have maybe half a dozen employees or so, their graphics person usually also wears a lot of hats. They're doing the Photoshop and the Illustrator, and they're doing both the 3D and 3D and 2D animation. But Centerline is actually big enough that you said they have a whole team of people for that.
Yeah, that's right. So when we were at Centerline, we had a whole motion department that was composed of, editors, composers, and animators, who basically had a little niche they were involved with. Now, granted, like you were saying, there was still a little bit of overlap. We required all our editors to know a base level of animation, so they needed to be able to do just some basic level 2D stuff, just as well as all our animators were still required to have a base level of editing skills. So there was a little bit of overlap in that.
It helps a lot when everybody at least has an idea of how everyone else's job works. It makes it easier for everybody to, put their stuff together.
Yeah, everyone was expected to be able to work a little bit on all the projects. Editors had to work a little bit on animation. Animators had to know a little bit of editing. But because the department was so big, you could find niches within there. People who had illustrative strengths would get a lot more of the illustration projects. People who were really into 3D or had strength there, the 3D project was kind of coming to there. So you could really kind of build what you were interested in, as well.
Right. Now, I know, you don't work at Centerline anymore, but still, I don't know how much you want to talk about, how they do things there. But it sounds like they're actually pretty flexible as far as, they bring you on, they know you're talented, you're good at what you do. But if you find that your skills or your interests lie a little more in one direction than another, you could kind of move around and find what you were best at.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Centerline, it's no lie. They work really hard over there. Their timelines on things are a lot shorter than what most people are used to working with. They're really flexible on things as long as you're flexible, right? So if you're willing to put in the effort and you're working really hard on stuff, they're open to let you kind of shape the path that you want to do. I've always done like animation, and the art direction stuff, but they even gave me the opportunity to direct a couple of films while I was with them, even though that's not really my specialty. I kind of expressed interest that I was really into it. Now the ones that I directed had a lot of post-production work on it. So it definitely helped having the kind of post-production side going into it. But they were always really great about kind of catering to your needs, what your interests are. Because if you're really interested in the work and the work's, you're really into the work, naturally going to be better in the end, better result.
Right. I mean, it's no secret that when the people working on something have an interest and an enthusiasm in it, it's going to come out a lot better, because even if you're doing something that's a little out of your wheelhouse, if you're excited for it and you're willing to learn, because you think it's kind of cool, you're going to take that extra step. You're not going to, look at something and say, that's good enough and push it out the door. Right. You're going to really want to make it look good. So
yeah, and then,
cool.
And then working around, so many creatives over there, you're seeing so many different styles every day. It naturally pushes you and you naturally see stuff. I'll tell you, but one of my favorite things about working at Centerline was we talked about this kind of working with multiple people, picking up their project files. A lot of times as an animator, some of the best ways to find out new styles of animation or new ways of approaching things is to really just look at the project file and see how someone broke something down, Right. So there's lots of instances where I'd pick up someone's animation. I'm like, my God, I have no idea how you did this. And then you see it and they're like, oh, it's not that hard. It's kind of simple here. And then naturally you remember that. So the next time you get to something that requires a similar scene, you have that base you can build off of,
Right. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of times if you're if you're into Video Copilot, I assume you're familiar with that site.
Oh yeah.
When they do tutorials on stuff there, you can sit there and watch the video and kind of go along with it. But at the same time, a lot of times they include work files and everything for you to download and look at. And, you can actually see what it all looks like on the timeline. And go, oh, okay, what happens if I, because they'll walk you through, okay, if you make this 8 frames long and then set it to this thing and everything, and you copy and say, oh yeah, it looks like that. But then if you can get your hands on the work file and then say, what happens if I tweak this and make this a little shorter or change this up and just watch it go nuts? And, that really gives you a fundamental understanding of the tools rather than paint by numbers. Oh, okay. And then I got this.
The best way to learn something, I swear, is to have a project that you feel uncomfortable with. When you get a style, style frames, you're like, this isn't even how I really work, but you get into it, you figure out a way to solve the problem and it pushes you, that's the best way to do it.
Right. I actually heard a podcast I was listening to. Someone finally articulated something I've been thinking for a while. They said one of the greatest assets, or I guess it's not really a skill, but one of the greatest attributes you can have is to be comfortable being uncomfortable with something. So like in my case, I never wanted to be in front of the camera. I hate being in front of the camera. Right. But I wanted to do these shows, our show, Das Beer Show, the Artcast, and of course, Local Film Talk. Well, I got some people together and we started to work on it. And I said, all right, who's going to be the host? And they all said, well, I don't want to be in front of the camera. And I said, well, if I want to get this thing done, someone's going to have to be in front of the camera. I guess it's going to have to be me. And those first couple episodes, I was absolutely petrified. But, I wanted to get it done, so I just sucked it up and I did it. And, I'm still a little uncomfortable, but I'm fine with that. And, because I've just sat down and I've done it and practiced and over and over and over again, I think I gotten a lot better over the past, year and a half I've been doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap.
No. Bob, you're killing it, dude. You're killing it. You're doing great right now.
No. Let's take a caller.
All right, caller.
So, caller, you're on the air. So real quick, just going back to you were talking about directing stuff.
Okay.
Was that actual client work or just like a little side project you did for fun?
Oh, no, it was definitely client work. It was actually one of the favorite pieces I've actually worked on at Centerline. We did a piece that came up, one of the things that I always liked about the art director position is that it kind of puts you in at the very beginning of the project when a lot of the conceptualization was happening.
Right,
sometimes just because of how many projects come in, at an organization like Centerline, as an animator, you're kind of getting it right before it starts, so there's a little bit of a limit on the direction you can go. A lot of things have been kind of shaped out already.
Right.
But when you're in an art director role, you really get a nice opportunity to kind of come in at the conceptualization, when the client's really like, what is the best solution for our problem, And we had a group, IBM Tape Storage, that were coming to us. And tape storage, most people don't realize, is actually one of the better ways to store information. It's really cheap. Everyone thinks of it as so rudimentary, but it was this really like kind of practical solution to the digital age. Everyone thinks about putting stuff on the cloud, but that becomes expensive. And so the solution was IBM Tape Storage. So they were trying to think of a really fun way that they could connect with people. And I had this idea of, we're talking about practicality, that, if the tape is so practical, let's just build a set. Let's do like kind of a live action animation, So we actually came up with this idea of having our hero tape. I'll have to send you the video after we're over the interview.
Okay. I'm looking at your real quick. I'm looking at your website. Is it one of these videos here?
Oh boy!
Is it in your portfolio?
Let me see. I don't think I had got a chance to update it on there yet.
Okay.
But I'll get it to you here at some point.
Hell, if you send me the video and you don't mind, we could make that one actually the pre-roll video in the episode if you're down with that.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We can definitely do that.
Why not? Let's go
yes.
for it.
Let's make it
That's
happen.
one of the great
All
things
right.
about being your own boss. It's like, hey, what if we do this? I don't have to check with anybody. Yeah, just fucking do it.
So the tape storage piece, we came with this idea to build a little miniature tape that was going to be our hero piece. And the idea is, we would change scenes with the tape, but the tape would always stay front and center in camera, and all this stuff would happen behind it, Talk about its durability, how it outlasts the elements. So it was a really nice combination of using kind of practical effects. I feel like this day and age, we've gotten so used to just pushing graphics towards everything, right? When sometimes it's almost even more unique to have something caught, in camera in a way.
Right.
So
it almost always better that way too.
Right, exactly. So it was really cool to kind of think about how we would approach it if we had animated it, right? If we did this as a 3D tape, or we did it, just in After Effects or, Maya or Cinema 4D, and think about what we'd want to do to it in those programs, and then think about how we would create those same effects in camera. And so the animator on it, Corey Laviga, my good friend, the two of us really teamed up the whole way through, had really detailed storyboards. There was a really long planning phase on there, because with something like this, it was so robust. You're building all these sets, building all these props. I mean, you wanted to be 100% sure that all the visuals were locked in going in.
Right.
So
it's kind of like when people do stop motion animation, it's kind of neat because you can control every little aspect and all that stuff. But at the same time, you got to get it right that first time, because if you work for a month on a, 30-second scene and, 2.5 minutes into it, you like knock something over or the lighting is off or whatever, you got to start back from scratch.
Oh, so. I know. I mean, animation takes forever anyway. And then for planning for something like this, it was just, extrapolated. But it was really great. There was a lot of teamwork and collaboration in this one. Even on the project management side, we were in talks the whole time. So there was a really good understanding on their end of what we needed creatively. So there wasn't a lot of misrepresentation. I think sometimes, you can work with people and maybe they don't understand fully what's happening on the back end. And that's when you get into like time crunches and things like that.
Right.
So we really just, kind of felt like we knocked it out of the park with like the execution. We got a piece that was kind of funny and different, but when you're working with someone that's a kind of a more conservative client like IBM, you don't want to get too far out of the realm. So it was a good way to kind of like pushing the boundaries without, jumping off the cliff in a way. But it turned out to be a really good piece.
Yeah, that's cool. That does sound really neat. And of course, if things go according to plan, um, this commercial will actually be in the pre-roll for the episode, so everybody watching will know exactly what we're talking about. Meanwhile,
Perfect.
I'm just trying to picture something in my head. So
Right, exactly. My
there's a fun thing.
kind of shitty description.
Yeah, I'm having this conversation based on what you're describing, and meanwhile, everybody
I know.
who watched pre-roll is going to be like, "No, Bob, that's not what didn't you watch the video?" No,
Weren't you paying attention?
So now one thing based on what you've told me so far about Centerline, it sounds like they're very big on collaboration and people working together, putting in a lot of face time, being in the same room to collaborate.
Yeah.
So I assume there's not a lot of working from home. It's all about everybody being in the same space so they can work together and bounce ideas off each other.
Oh, definitely. And I think there's a lot to be said about that too. I mean, one thing, because like I said, I've left Centerline and since kind of gone on my own. One thing I've already noticed in the immediate time has just been, I'm missing that collaboration a little bit. It's nice to be able to get up, walk over to someone's desk and be like, look, can you come take a look at this? I'm trying to figure out how to approach, X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts on it? Just getting just that simple kind of back and forth, the simple rapport is so crucial to me in like the creative realm. Luckily, my roommate, Drew Brisley, he's a industrial designer. So it is kind of
also
nice
a
to be
ghost.
able to, also a ghost. He's over there, doesn't exist right now. My imaginary friend. It's good to have, even if it's someone not in your field. I like to tell a lot of people who are getting into animation, they may not be surrounded by a ton of animators around them, but even just getting someone's opinion. They don't even have to be a creative. Everyone's opinions on things matter. You may not have to use it, right. But just getting the idea or getting someone to think about something a little bit differently could spur your own creativity to go a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, especially like if you're doing a commercial, like you were talking about doing a commercial for IBM, that is theoretically, I mean, I don't know what this specific commercial was for, but like a lot of the commercial work you're going to be doing for clients at a production house is probably going to be shown to the public. So if, any person whose opinion you can get, they're the public and possibly the potential audience for this thing. So, their opinion may matter. They may not know the nitty gritty of, they might say, what if you do this? You might, no, that's not how it works. But, sometimes you just listen to what, like based on the suggestions they make or what they say didn't work, you can tell kind of the underlying problem and work from there. So feedback is key.
It's always important, I think, sometimes we get caught up in the fact that we need to be like the person with all the answers, right? When we take on these projects, there's this level of responsibility that you feel like, I need to know everything. I need to know how to do all these pieces when it's not like that. I think it's important for all of us in the creative industry to be confident, but not cocky, be confident in your skills and know that you can get the stuff done, you can get the work done, but, be humble in the sense that, be willing to go ask for help, I mean, no one in all these fields expects you to know everything. I mean, there's just so much stuff out there now, So being in a collaborative atmosphere when you're around a lot of other people to be able to say, you're really good at this illustration stuff. What should I do here? Or, Derek, you're really great at this 3D. How would I, have this thing come in camera? Just having that ability to, be able to ask people, not feel like you have to solve it all on your own.
Right. And it's the curse of the auteur mentality, Everybody's like, this is my vision. I know how it should be done. But, again, even if you have the idea, you probably don't have the technical know-how for every different department. So knowing, bouncing your ideas off of people who are experts in that stuff and being open to their creative input too, that's, I've never seen a movie that only had one name in the credits. And there's a reason
right, exactly. Be able to handle a critique, be able to give advice and be able to take it yourself.
Right. You really can't have a thin skin in any of these creative industries.
No, definitely not.
So you started working for Centerline in 2010 or 2011. At that point, were they still over on, what was it, Martin Street?
Harrington. We were over on Harrington Street. Yeah, where Raleigh HQ is now currently was our previous building.
Right. I went by there one time to turn in to submit a job application.
Nice.
Guess how that went.
Oh.
But yeah, I went into that facility one time. It was a really nice building.
Oh yeah.
But I was over on Glenwood South about a month ago and realized that they had moved. When did that happen?
So they moved. So I came on Centerline the first year or so. I was freelancing, and when I started full time was right when they started over at the new building, which I guess was 2011, 2012 ish, somewhere in there.
Okay, so it's been a little while.
It's been a little while. They've been in that building for a good bit of time now, and they're actually doing a lot of renovations now and even expanding more than it was.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a really cool building. I'll never forget walking in there for the first time. I mean, it's pretty expansive. They have a very like open floor plan. Going back to what we were talking about with the collaboration, so it's really easy to get to know all your neighbors and stuff, which I always was real appreciative of. I felt like by the time I left that company, I could almost name everyone in the company, which I felt was pretty good considering there was like probably 100 people there.
I gotta imagine at least once there was a beach ball that everybody was.
Oh yeah.
So is the new building bigger than the older one, or is it just a more convenient location?
It was bigger. I mean, we were expanding at such an exponential rate that we just needed more space to just bring on new hires. So it was really just to accommodate that.
Okay. So I don't want to make this all about talking about Centerline.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
We're here to talk about you and your work. So like you said, you had this time about 4 or 5 years working with Centerline, and decided to strike out on your own.
Yes.
What made you decide to do that? And,
oh man. So
what's it like taking that leap?
Yes. To go out on your own is really exciting, and this coming year is going to be really exciting for a lot of reasons. I'm actually, the main thing, I can't say too much about it yet, but I'm actually going to be starting up a design shop here in Raleigh with my partner, Corey Livengood. The two of us are going into business together to do an animation shop here in Raleigh.
And he was at Centerline too, right?
He was at Centerline as well. Yeah, he was an animator with them. We both left Centerline.
Right? Somebody from Centerline is going to be watching this tomorrow going, what the fuck?
No. They know all this now. We left on really good terms. Like I said, we both had a fantastic time at Centerline. They're really great people. They do a really incredible work. So it was really a mutual situation. We just had an opportunity come up with CNN. We both had a good friend who worked there in the creative department, and he actually offered us a job on this series of animations with them. So we actually left Centerline to go work for CNN, doing this series of medical animation. So the end result, it's pretty exciting, is going to be interactive series on the website. You can go on there and there'll be a human body you can click on various aspects of, and it'll basically be generating these videos. It's going to be pretty sweet. I can't go into too much detail on it just because we're still working on it at the time. But that's going to be wrapping up here in about a month or so. So I'll make sure to filter that out so all the creators around Raleigh can take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And let me know when it happens. We'll do a post on the website about it. Oh, maybe we could have you guys both on the show again.
That would be fantastic.
Talk about that job specifically.
We're really excited about it. We think it's some really cool work, and really kind of exemplifies kind of the skill set that Corey and I both have. Highlights a lot of the 3D elements that he's really good at. Illustrative stuff that I do. So then once that launches, we're going to be basically kind of working to kind of develop this company that we're going to be starting, and really just trying to get everything in line for that. And then hopefully our plan is to launch in January. So now that I've said it, I have to get it out there, right? Have to
you're on record now. This is
right,
is
I'm on record.
Of record. And
good.
Come February, if you don't have that thing up and running.
Oh, right, I know. I'll start hearing some flack.
Say, remember this episode. Remember we were talking about this.
That's right. No, so we're really excited about that. I felt like the first 5 years.
A space for this, or are you going to do it out of your homes?
For the time being, we're going to do it out of our homes, just because we don't need that extra overhead quite yet. I mean, The ultimate goal, of course, is to open up a space and to bring in, kind of a plethora of animators. Our big thing is we really want this to be a strong focus on creativity. We're really, people who are coming to us for work are people who are willing to invest that kind of extra mile and to really get some strong creative ideas designed specifically and cater specifically for what they want. So we're really excited about it. A lot going on. When I left Centerline, I went this huge European trip I was talking to you about, and basically came back from that, and it's just been kind of in the grind since then. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah, you said you were actually backpacking around, what was it, Norway?
Norway. Yeah, it's incredible.
Very cool.
Quick story on that. My mom is a German teacher here in Raleigh. So if any of your viewers have a student that attends, or a son or daughter that attends Martin Middle School or Ligon Middle School, they can take German with my mom. And she actually won National German Teacher of the Year. Give a shout out to my mom on the show. That's a good idea.
Congratulations.
I know. That's
Go
good.
Mack Garrison.
I know. Woo! So through winning that, she got some tickets to go to Europe for my father and her. And so my sister and I decided to join. So we did Germany, Austria, Czech Republic. And then my sister and I did this crazy trip while we were over there up to Norway. Blew through all my money and then came back, and I'm trying to make it all back, right?
You went and blew through all your money, and now you're going to start a company.
That's a great idea, right?
Zero. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely
I know
nothing.
exactly what you mean, yeah. But that just makes it more fun, when there's no net.
It is,
We're just going for it.
Exactly. It's a good place to be right now in Raleigh. I mean, I'm born and raised here. So I've really seen, 10 years ago, no one was hanging out downtown Raleigh, and now I'm living in downtown. And it's such a good place to be, in my opinion, for creatives. I mean, there's just so many creative juices flowing. I know, NC State's filtering a lot of their design kids out into, the city. And then because it's growing so much, a lot of them aren't leaving. They want to make a home here, and we're keeping that talent pool around Raleigh, which is fantastic.
Yeah, when the last economic downturn happened, there were a lot of cities and towns, obviously Detroit and plenty of other ones that were hit really hard. But, believe it or not, despite the stuff you thought you saw around here, it was not nearly as bad as it was almost anywhere else in the country.
Oh, right, yeah.
This town, Raleigh and Durham especially, the revitalization in Durham has been huge over the past decade or so. The whole Triangle area has just, relative to everywhere else, we didn't really skip a beat over the past decade, and it's really become a trendy place to be. So,
absolutely.
For starting up something like you're talking about, not just another production company, but one that is specialized particularly on animation and something, this is the place, this is a great place to be building that. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. We're really excited about it. And yeah, just to reiterate, we're really going to be putting the focus in on the animation, really that's kind of will be our main plan, and things I'm sure will stem from that, but that's kind of what we end up wanting to be.
Right. So, I guess one last question to kind of wrap it up, sort of based on what you're talking about, getting ready to start your own business. And we had talked about this earlier, but I wanted to get your thoughts and your answer on record for the audience.
Sure.
You went to school for art and design, and now you're getting ready to start your own business. I've been sort of in that same boat since I started, Triangle Life TV, and I started doing these shows. I went to school for video and journalism, broadcast. And I was talking with a friend recently who actually went to school for filmmaking. And I'm a bit older than you. I graduated in 2004, and he's a little older than me. He probably graduated around 99, 2000.
Sure.
But we were both talking about how, at the times that we were deciding when to go to school, the internet, you didn't really have video on the internet. It was still kind of in its infancy as far as that goes. There definitely wasn't a YouTube. So it's not like you could look up tutorials to learn a lot of the technical stuff in these industries. And we were both kind of talking about how nowadays, if we could do it again, in these current times, or if we had to give advice to other people, we would say, rather than going to school for filmmaking, and this isn't, for everybody, this was just kind of our thoughts, rather than going to school for filmmaking to learn how to do lighting and stuff, or to learn how to do, stuff in Photoshop, you can learn a lot of that on the internet. If you want to go off and start your own business, you're probably better getting a degree in advertising or in, a business degree or something like that. And I wanted to get your thoughts, being in a different field, being in more graphic design, which is, of course, still, a very practical field to get a degree in. If you had a chance to go back and do it, would you still go to school for the same thing that you did, or would you recommend other people take a different path?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one thing that's really important in all the fields of design is really having that good, strong foundation, design foundation, right? So there's plenty of people, for example, out in the motion industry who have incredible animation skills. They're really technically savvy. They understand the programs, but they clearly lack a little bit of the design elements. You can tell when you watch their animations and maybe color palettes aren't right, or maybe the composition is weighted wrong. It was not, kind of arranged well. And I think a lot of just understanding.
You've been watching my graphics work, haven't you?
I had been, right? That's bad. So basically,
speaking of people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to have a strong design foundation. That's going to show. Professionals are going to look at that. You can look at the animations, the ones that are really good out there, and you can tell they have a strong design background. For me personally, I've always been really hands-on, and even with this stuff on the internet, I still always felt like I learned better with someone sitting down with me. Kind of what's kind of happening with some of these traditional classrooms and kind of walking you through the steps. That being said, I think, you could start with just the general design foundation and learn a lot of this stuff online. My business partner, Corey Livengood, went to NC State, but didn't do anything with design at all. I think he was a theater major and then really got into kind of design and this motion graphic stuff, just doing side projects, and then steamrolled that into a career. So there's definitely two ways you can approach it. When I was at Centerline, we really did have a breadth of kids from all over the areas. We had some guys who went to Full Sail, which is more like technical university.
Right.
You had someone like myself went to a traditional 4-year. Then someone like Corey, who didn't have any schooling in it. In the end of the day, in our field, if you can do the work and it looks good and you get it done on time, that's all that really matters, But I think ways that you can improve and really stand out would be get that base level design, learn kind of those technical skills, and then really the best way to learn stuff is just to be in it, kind of put yourself, what we were talking about a little bit earlier, kind of in over your head, the best way to learn projects is to get into it, figure it out from there. So anyway, roundabout answer, I think having some of that base foundation for design is really good, but there's so much stuff out there these days. I don't know if you necessarily need the 4-year degree.
Okay. No, that's good advice. Obviously people have to, that's one opinion, and people have to figure out what works best for them. Like you said, for you being in a classroom with a teacher who's, can work with you on an individual basis, that works for you. Whereas again, with your partner, Corey, just sitting down in front of the computer and learning the stuff online and figuring it out for your own, different people learn things different ways.
Exactly.
So
and then there's also a whole invaluable set of, things you can get going to university as well, as far as connections, you just meet professors who, I ended up working at this internship right out of school through professors that I met at State. And then through that internship, I got connected with Centerline, and that rolled into that job, So I could easily make the arguments like, maybe you could learn the same traits on, online, but you might not get like the benefit of getting to know some of the professionals in the area if you didn't go through school.
Well, and like you've pointed out from your time at Centerline, it's all a very collaborative medium. There's very little that, it's not often that you're going to get to do an entire project by yourself. You're going to have to know how to interact and communicate with people. And that's, probably just as much as what you learn in the classroom, just what you learn about socializing and interacting and working with other people in a college environment, that's going to pay huge dividends.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Well, cool. Thanks. Thanks for that advice. I hope people out there are able to get some use out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so too. Just keep practicing. All you guys, keep animating.
That's what we're doing here. Just keep on doing it, and you'll get better.
Right.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I guess we've been at it for probably about 35, 40 minutes.
Nice.
Like I said,
all right, that's good.
I just can't shut myself up. I tell people we're going to try to do 20 to 30 minutes, and it's always 45. So.
It happens, man. When you talk shop, it's easy to just let it go, right, and just keep going.
We're having fun.
Right, we're in it.
Oh man, I could go for hours, but we do need to. Theoretically, there are people that are going to watch this. So
theoretically, right? We want to condense it a little bit for them.
Well, and that gives us plenty to talk about next time. That means I got to have you on again.
Sounds good.
So Mack Garrison, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for chatting with me and giving me some insight into something that, like I said, I've dabbled in, but obviously have no expertise in. So it's nice to get an opinion from somebody who really does this stuff for a career. That's very cool.
Sure. Glad to help. Glad to be here.
So before you go ahead and plug your stuff. Where can people find more about you, follow you on social media, and what can we look forward to from you in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I post a lot of design inspiration, a lot of animation on my Twitter, which is at Rob Mackgar. That's at ROBMACGAR. My real name's Robert McCown Garrison, so that's where that originates from. You can also see
He actually
my
goes
work.
by Robert, but when he said he was going to come on the show, I said, no, we do not do two Bobs. I am Bob.
Two
You come
Bobs.
with someone else.
Hit up two Bobs. So you can find me at Rob Mackgar, or you can find out more of my work on MackGarrison.com. You can check out some of the stuff I've been working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know your portfolio here is extensive and impressive. No,
Thank you.
I like a
appreciate
lot
it.
of this stuff. So, and hopefully you can send us that other one, your IBM tape storage one, which is apparently not here on your portfolio, and that
the portfolio definitely does need to be updated. A couple things you can expect is more updates to my personal site and more announcements for this company I'm starting up. That'll be coming out through Twitter here in the next couple of months as well.
Awesome. Did you give everybody your Twitter handle?
I thought I did. It's at Rob Mackgar at ROB.
Okay.
Rob Mackgar. Yeah, Robert McCown Garrison.
I think you did. When I go back and look at this in editing, I'll be like, dumbass, why weren't you paying attention? He said it 3 times.
Oh, that's cool.
But no, thank you very much for being on the show, sharing your insights into the industry. Everybody be sure to check out mackgarrison.com. Check him out at Rob Mackgar on Twitter. And this was a lot of fun. I hope to have you on again in the future. Hopefully you and Corey on at some point to talk about your awesome new business that is doing game.
We'd love to do it. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Thank you. Have a good one.